What's up guys, Bruce and Damien here at WaterBear. So today is a discussion which is it harder to break through as a musician or a band today? What do you think?
Well, what are you talking about as opposed to a year ago or 20 years ago?
We're talking maybe pre-internet.
Do you want to talk about pre-internet?
Yeah, we want to talk about the reason why this comes about is because all of the time I get on my social media why it's harder now than it was beforehand, and there's this rose-tinted outlook on pre-internet back in the day to what it is now.
I think if you go back to the golden age of rock, my generation, when there was loads of money and everything, some things were easier and some things were harder. It's the reality. The harsh reality is back then very, very few people were in the music business because most people were denied access.
Yeah, me.
So, there were 12 major label deals done, perhaps, of which 2 or 3 would be rock bands, if you're lucky. And that was it. That was a club, And when you're on the major label, having a hit record, in inverted commas, that was no guarantee of being there a year later. So you were booted out, So it was really tough. And if you were at the top of the tree, there was loads of money. But it's the same today, actually. It's about the same number of huge, big artists in the Ed Sheeran and Adele kind of camp as there ever was then. And it's just more opportunities for a larger group of people, but we have to run our careers differently. Yeah. Because we can't all have full-time performance careers.
And so when it comes down to is it harder to break through, one thing I think is I don't think it's harder. I mean, when I was a kid and I was in my first band in Swansea, I could name 30 bands in my town. Times that by all over the world. I think the difference now is you can see it visually. It's transparent. It's all over the place. And I think what's happened is people can actually see the mountain that they have to climb because it's very tangible. And I think back in the day, you join a band, you'd start gigging, and it's like
it felt like any minute it could all happen.
Exactly. And
it was a slight illusion.
It was basically it was like someone kind of went, oh, you want to go down, right? You go to the end of the road, you turn left. You're 500 miles away, and it was like there was nothing in between that you could see, and now you're actually looking at every step.
Your naivety kind of kept you going.
Gets you through because if you actually saw the exact, all of the reality of it, you'd probably look at it and go, "Oh, I'm not doing this. This is a nightmare." Whereas now it's there, but what comes with that is complete control. Yeah. So that control means a lot more work. If you want to not take anything as a gamble and you want to do it yourself, you can. But what I think a lot of people hide behind numbers. So they look at this and they just go, it's very, very difficult. YouTube's really hard. The algorithm's really hard. People aren't seeing my stuff. Instead of saying, this is really inspirational because everyone's in the same boat. So I can just jump over everybody else by doing something better or different,
or play the game a little bit smarter.
Absolutely,
or something like that. But I mean, I am frustrated by the lack of organic reach because I think when I ran Colour of Noise, that band was 4 years ago. Couldn't have done that anymore because no one would have seen any of our posts.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that's ever happened.
Why is it good? It's rubbish.
Because 2 reasons. Yeah. Number one, you can now have to think better. You have to be better. You have to think different. And number two, it's clear what you have to do, which you couldn't before. You can put some money into it and get it in front of people, which means it's getting reach now is easy. This is the thing. Getting reach is easy.
How is it easy?
Because I can make a post, I can put 10 quid into it. Anyone's watching going, putting money into it. I can put 10 quid into it and I can get it in front of 10,000 people.
Okay.
So getting in front of 10,000 people, back in the day, if you got in front of 10,000 people, that would have been Wembley Arena.
That was your fundamental problem, and that's why when you got booted off your record label, you were really stuffed because it was so expensive to get in front of people. Yeah. So, you had to do posters, or flyers, or pay for an advert in Kerrang or something.
So I can get in front of 10,000 people for a matter of a couple of quid. Now the difference being, and this is where everyone forgets about it, once I get in front of those 10,000 people, if nobody cares, it's not Facebook's fault, it's my fault. I haven't done something good enough. Right. If I get on stage in front of 10,000 people and at the end of the night, nobody knows who I am or nobody cares, whose fault is that?
Yeah, your fault.
It's mine.
Yeah.
So this idea that the algorithm's been taken away is broken. It's not. It's more clear than ever.
I think you're right, talent always does win out. And when people go the extra distance to do something great, it's hard to stop it. It does go, you know.
And now it's tangible. They just go, look, it's really, really simple. If you want to get seen, you make a post, you put a little bit of money into it. That bit's out of the way now, so let's concentrate on the rest of it instead of can we cheat the algorithm or can we do something a bit different?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the biggest issue in bands, the biggest obstacle to bands, right, in the UK, because we know the bands in the UK pretty well through the various stuff we do. The biggest problem is when you think you're finished, that the record's good enough, the songs are good enough, it's probably all over because it probably isn't good enough and you're not pushing yourself in the way that the bands that get through are, and you're not able to see yourself objectively. It's a tough thing, this, but if you're there and, you know, a band that's playing Hammersmith say are there, then if you can see it, you can do something about it. But if you don't know what you don't know, and I think that's the biggest
What
obstacle.
used to be the case, which was nice, is people used to say you're not good enough and you'd say, okay, I'm not good enough. What do I have to do? It's very difficult to make that a tangible thing. What's great about now is you can say it's tangible. You can say, look, I can tell you.
Of course it is. It's A&R.
Absolutely.
If you were on the major label in the day, there would be an A&R person, and even if they weren't that great, just the fact that they were there asking the right questions and pushing you.
And so you used to say A&R in this country used to be amazing. It didn't work so well. I think it's the opposite way. I think we have now got the greatest A&R that's ever been, which is everybody.
Yes.
It's great because basically you put something out and everyone goes, don't like that.
It's like it's like a huge TV show, isn't it, with everyone voting all the time, you know.
And so whether we like it or not, it used to be one person that say, I think. Now we can show it to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And if people go, it could be the way it's wrapped up. It could be, and, you know, someone came through on my socials today and were like, this is not music, this is social media marketing. And I was like, no, this is consumption. This is today's consumption of what people do.
Yeah.
So you have to go with the times. And at the moment, what's brilliant about it is if, as it always has, if Kerrang put a front page of a band when I was a kid that I didn't like, I wouldn't go, well, it's on Kerrang, so I'll have to like it. No. I'll go, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, now we can do that for a very small amounts of money, but people are now complaining about small amounts of money because it used to be free. Yeah, and it's still small amounts of money, and what you're doing is you're testing your product. Instead of going, I've made my album and I'm putting it out. Why not test it little bit by little bit and going, this works now. Now we go for it. Yeah,
very interesting. So I suppose we are coming back to the music and the quality of the thing, the quality of the product. It's always about that, because unless that's right, there's nothing you can do. Whatever marketing, whatever campaign you've got won't really help you, and that was always the case. I mean, even major labels have tried to break loads and loads of bands and not been able to do it, and they've thrown millions of pounds at some of these bands, you know. Because at the end of the day, you can't force someone to take that 10 quid out of the wallet and buy the thing.
You can't. You can get. What you can do is you can get social proofing, whether other people are jumping on something that's trending, and therefore that definitely helps with getting that momentum. But this breaking through, which is what we're talking about, is. There's more. There's not. You know. There's so many bands in the world. It's transparent. Your job is to start putting stuff out there, getting it in front of people, seeing what's working, what's not. Not just with the music, but in how you're getting it, what content you're making, how you're engaging with your audience as a musician. All of that kind of stuff. I think it's much easier than it ever was, because all of a sudden I'm in control. I think that one thing that makes it harder is the fear of looking around and seeing the sheer amount of other people doing what you're competing with and thinking that's quite off-putting.
That is off-putting. But I suppose you've got to look at this like my fishing analogy. I'm going to do the fishing analogy where you're trying to catch a cod out of the North Sea and it's needle in a haystack. You know, you've got to overcome the odds being against you. And how do you do it? Well, you do it by every decision you make, bringing you closer to that outcome. Yeah. And most people don't do that. So therefore, you know, you narrow the odds until it becomes likely, rather than, well, it goes from impossible to unlikely to yes, it's probably going to happen to almost certainly.
Yeah.
And then you need a little bit of luck, but not much.
Yeah, eliminating the luck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good one. So
is it easier or harder? I do agree that I think it's easier on balance.
I do
overall.
too.
I'd rather be a musician, 18-year-old now, and have today's career than what I had. And I was one of the lucky ones as well. So I think it's easier now.
I would love to hear what people think, because this is something I hear quite regularly, where people say, harping back onto Pink Floyd and that kind of stuff, and not actually looking at the amazing opportunities and what we have now got and what's feasible now.
Yep.
So I would love some comments down below. Do you think it's easier now, or do you think it's easier to break through, say, 20 or 30 years ago? Or more importantly, when do you think was the best time
When's the golden age?
To break through? What was the decade where you went, that was the best time to break through? Tell us why in the comments below. But thanks for watching. If you can like, subscribe, and we shall see you again soon.